this was the activity which we had. When I click on back, right, so now this activity was there already, but this activity was in suspended state. Okay, as this activity was in suspended state, it doesn't mean that there is only one activity being shown. Yes, if you have whatever you can see here, right, you can have only one activity as an active state, right? All other activities will be in suspended state.
Actually, when we go in the real time, we can open it in the new tab, right? We can open it in the new tab, any activity. So simultaneously we can open 1, 2, 3 all activities like that. When it comes to when we use the apps in the phones like that.
You mean tab? You were talking about tab, right?
Yeah, tab. In the new tab we can open the activities.
No. What is a tab? I didn't get the tab actually. You're talking about the browser, Naresh?
Yeah.
No. Browser is completely one activity. Browser is completely a different app, right? If you are talking about
no, Srinath. Actually, Faruqi is asking that if one activity is in active state, can we open other activities, right?
No,
that was not his question.
Yeah, I am saying you have the one main activity and you are publishing some result to the other activity to show.
Yes.
Because those are the temporary activity. You know, when you call and they come back, you call and come back, you call and come back. So you want to dispose.
Yeah, see, what Faruqi was asking was, let us say there is a main activity, okay? And from this activity, we call first activity, activity 1, right? And then we got that. Again, we call one more activity, which is, let us say, activity 2. And again, we got that. Again, we call one more activity, which is activity 3, right? And again, we got that main activity. Was that your question?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So what happens here is once you are actually going in a forward direction, right? What happens? See, from your main activity, anyways, even this is an activity. Again, this is an activity again, right? So if you are going in this way, right? Let us say it is your 6th activity, your 7th activity, and all right. What happens here is, so whenever it moves to this activity, this will go to suspended state, and this is active.
Okay.
Now, once it goes to it moves from 1 to 6, then these two will be in suspended state and this will be inactive. Now once 6 moves to 7, then your main activity 1 and 6 will go to suspended state and 7 will be active. This is in a forward direction. Now once you are at 7th, right, now you have a back button here, right? You have a back button.
Yeah.
So now from 7, when you click on back button, it will move to 6. So when it moves to 6, what happens is it will actually completely flush out 7.
Okay.
Now you are in 6. When you click on back again, it will move to first and it will flush out your 6.
Okay.
And from 1, when you click on back again, it will move to main activity and this will go. This is how it happens.
So for forward direction, it is like
in forward direction,
suspended state.
Yeah, everything will be stacked up. Everything will be stored as a stack.
Okay. When you are going to back, it is disposing all the activities which you are closing.
Exactly.
Which you are moving.
True. Yes, true. Yeah. Fine. Okay. So you don't have to actually worry about if you're going back to your main activity, right? You don't have to worry about this because once you're actually going back, which means you're actually killing up this activity. Your Android architecture will take care of that. Okay?
Okay.
Fine then. Fine. Okay then, so we'll just resume with the next layout. We were in layouts, right? So linear layout and layout we have done. Now the next one is your table layout, right? So now let's create a new activity here. So let me
table layout is different than tab layout.
Table layout is different than tablet. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So here I'm going to create a more layout. Right. So here, guys, so I can call an activity, right? So as an activity or layout. So sometimes I will be calling it as layout also, right? just take it as activity, because we can actually have two different names. You can either call it as an activity window or layout window. Okay? Now here, let me give as table activity. Right. Now you can see you have your activity window here, and also you have your generated class, which is table activity, right? So we always mention whenever we say activity, right, which means we're actually talking about the class and not the XML file, right? Always do remember that. Whenever we say that, okay, we are at first activity, which means we are talking about the class, because class is a main background, like it's a brain, and your layout is something which is representing your brain, which is a face. We call it as a layout and an activity, right? But anyways, we normally call, okay, these are activities and they are actually tagged with some classes. Fine. Now, so in this table layout, right? So this table layout, you can actually put it in some other layouts as such, right? So basically, table layouts are used to arrange your views, right, in some rows and columns, right? Basically, so each and everything you can actually put it as a row wherever you want. So you can use this table layout to arrange controls in a manner that how we used to arrange them in our web page, right? So we know that if you are designing any web page, like in HTML page, the basic component which works, there are two or more components, but basically we use either div or table, right? So table will actually give, like, you can actually cover up all the pixels of a page using the table HTML content. The same feature you can use in Android, which is for table layout, right? Now let me create a table layout. Now you can have, right, you can actually create a table layout inside your any other layouts as such, right? So here, let me just give, even if you don't create a table layout separately, right, you can directly call something called table row. Let me show you that, which is something called table row. You can see. So this is one row, right? So in this one row, you can have your table. Let us say, yes, I have my text view here in one row, right? Let me take more text views here. So let me call it as text 1. You have your text 2 and you have your text 3. Okay. Now if you go back to a graphical layout, right? Okay, anyways, you have this. Right, now you can see that you have your text views in a row. If you want to create multiple rows, you can just go ahead and create table row, which is table row here, right? And you can just copy the same things here. So before that, let's create a margin, right? So margin is something which will actually give some gap, right, with respect to the controls we have, right? So as we have a direct controls here, which is like adjacent controls, right? If you set right or left margin, that's enough. You don't have to set a top margin. So let's go back here.
Srinath, won't it give any border?
I'm sorry?
I mean, for a table layout or for a table row, it will give some border, right?
Border in the sense like a table manner, right?
Yes.
Like a table. Yes, you can. If you want, you can also get it. But for that purpose, we'll be using grid view mostly. I'll show you how we can actually get a table view like cells. You want it as a physical table. You want to see the lines and all that. Yes, we can actually do that in our grid view actually.
Then what is the purpose of this table layout? Basically, we use the table layout.
Table layout is basically used to arrange your controls, and grid view is something which is used to show multiple data in a grid data. It's a showing up a end data, but here we're actually saving the controls itself, which is widgets.
Okay. Like whatever all buttons, if you want.
Exactly. Perfect. Yeah. So here we are actually arranging the widgets. I mean the controls in a screen, right? So the grid view is something. See, you won't be showing multiple controls in a table manner, right? Like grid, your rows and columns. The question you were asking was to show something like lines. You have some data in each and every cell, right? So that is something which you are actually trying to show some data. But here we are not showing some data, but rather we are actually arranging the widgets in a table manner, right?
Okay, fine.
Okay. So now let me give some margin here. Maybe margin, maybe right, maybe, right? Let me give some 2 dp, right? Density pixels, and let me copy this 2 dp across this control over here. Let me copy the same and paste it here. Alright, let's go back here. Now you can see here that there is a wrap content needed. You have your table row here, right? What is happening? You have a text, okay. You have your text 4 over here. So these are some layouts which we don't use the most. So basically basically I and my complete team uses mostly relative layout and grid view and list view. They will be mostly will be using that. Okay, let me just drag it up. You can see that the controls are in separate view here.
You don't be using this linear layout also often?
We will be using, but but if you want to arrange controls, it all depends on requirement actually, right? But relative layout is something using relative layout you can do anything you want, right? So that's why basically we go for that. Okay. So this is our one single row, and if you want one more row, actually you can see that it is actually you have to create something called. Let me just create something called below. Right, and here for this table row, let me give ID as row 1 maybe, and here let me take below as at the rate. Yeah, always remember you have to give ID in this way, ID slash, right? So that it will be registered with your because of below. Let me call it as ID and your 01. Yeah, Nabila, go ahead. What is your question?
Actually, what you are doing, I understand you said that we are using table layout to arrange the controls and button, right? Or widgets.
Yes,
But
yes.
we can use we did the same thing with the linear layout, right? So we can accomplish the same task with the linear layout.
Yes. You can do the same thing in a linear node. See, these are all types of layouts you have actually, right? So whatever type you want, you can just take up. Yep. The only thing is, see, you don't need any layout. You just need one layout which can do you can do everything in this, right? But only thing is, we have to know what are the different things we have, right? So that's why I'm just taking up this, right? But yes, you can actually do everything without layout.
But through coding purpose, normally most of the time we are going to use relative layout, right?
Exactly. Yep.
More practical, right?
Yep. More practical is like the relative layout and sometimes even linear layout too.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So that is your linear table layout you have. Fine. So where you can actually now it assigns only in one single row where you can actually keep your columns whatever you want. That's how you can actually arrange the controls in your table layout. Fine. Now let's move ahead with the next view, which is a grid view. Now this will be interesting again. From this part, we'll just enter into the actual part. Sorry, excuse me guys. So here, let me take it as grid view activity. Now basically this grid view, right, instead of calling it as layout, this is something which is a view group, right? We should call it as a view group because we are actually going to show some data in some arranged manner, right? So that is what we can actually use our grid view, right? And this grid view is something which you can actually create inside any layout. It can be related layout or any layout as such. We can use this grid view as a direct view group or a widget as such, right? Now, in order to do that, right, so let me just remove this hello world. Now this is my grid view thing. Now you can see in your layouts, right, you have your grid view directly over here, which is grid view. Let me just drag and drop this composite. Now you can see it is already showing something. Right? By default it shows, okay, this is my grid view. If you go back to your XML, now you can see it automatically creates something for you. Right? Now here in your grid view there are few features, few attributes which you have to remember in order to make it dynamic, right? Anyways, the first thing is that always try to give your ID. Let me call it as GRD view, right? Maybe call it as some states, something, right? The first step. Now just give some attention over here, guys. Now we are going to work. So till now we are just seeing something on XMLs, right, which is layouts. Now from now we are going to touch upon the classes too, right? Because in order to load some data in my grid view, we have to write some code, right? So that I can just take up some data and load on grid view. We'll see how we can actually do that, right? Now here the first thing is, yes, I've given my ID, okay, and view width and height. Let's say I want to fill the parent. Fill the parent in that sense, it will actually fill the complete activity as such. Fill the parent, right? And don't worry about central, horizontal and everything. If you want, you can just give. And now this is something. Now the first thing is number of columns. How many columns you want to give. Now when you drag and drop your grid view, right, by default it will give 3 actually, right? But if you want to give auto fit, you have an option called auto. What it does is, based on the space, it will actually auto arrange and auto create your columns, right? And then next one is, you have to take your column width. Column width is something where you want to give what should be a column width of one cell, or as a width of one cell, right? So that is your column width. Let me give it as some 40 dp, which is density pixels, right? And then you have one more important thing called stretch mode. Stretch mode in the sense, if your data increases in your grid view, you want to grow it towards rows or towards column, right? So let us select, I want to go across the column, right? So this is your grid view which you
Can you
have.
give both?
Sorry,
The column width and column height also.
you can see here,
Can we switch?
you can just give spacing with uniform.
Okay.
Okay, it all depends. So
What about the number of rows, Srinath?
number of rows in the sense,
Rows is depending on how much data you will enter, it will increase?
yes, it will increase.
Or
Yes, yes.
okay, there is no standard number of rows.
No, if you want to see, it will increase the rows and it will provide you a scroll bar. If data increases beyond the screen, right, it will actually paint up everything, but it will give you one scroll bar to scroll up the data.
Okay.
Yeah.
It depends on you, how much data you enter, you will get the column, number of rows.
Exactly. It is dynamic. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So now this is, that's it. Actually, in your UI part, that's it. You just have to arrange your data. That's it. Now you can see, as I gave 40 dp, right? Now you can see that each and every column arranged only 40 dp. Now if there is anything which is going beyond 40 dp, it just wrapped up, right? You can see sub item, it wrapped up. Now that's how it happens. Now if you give some more dp, let us say I'm giving some 60 dp here, go back, now you can see some decent thing, it got wrapped up, right? Now let us see how we can actually give data dynamically to this grid view, right? Now let me go to this class. So let me click on control and on this class. Now this is my class, right? Now in this class, the first method which will be triggered in our activity class is your onCreate. Now what we are looking here is, whenever my activity is loaded, right, I want to show some data on this grid view, right? Now, if you want to do that part, then we have to go for on create, right? So let's see what actually we can do that. Now these steps are very important, guys, because this is something which is based for all the Android apps. How to use control, how to fill data, everything will be of same pattern, right? Now the first step in this is there any question? Okay. Okay, the first step is, so what we are going to do here is we are going to populate some data into this grid view, which means we want to get this grid view hold in my class. Now how to get that is in this way. You can create a grid view instance here, grid view. Let me call it as LOBJ.
Just a second.
Sorry?
Can you go to the grid view graphical layout?
Grid view graphical, yeah.
So here you said the columns are 3, right?
No, I said auto, right? Auto fit.
Okay, auto fit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what?
By default it was 3. No, when I drag and drop this, right, by default it will be 3 actually. If you want to restrict your columns, yes, you can do that. There is no issue, right? You can do that.
Yeah, but I'm not getting what is the main heading and what is the subheading.
No, Sanjay, I'm not getting this. Grid view is only to show elements in a grid manner. You are not actually drawing some table here. Right? That is something which is different. Right? Don't get confused. Yes, if you want to give a header, you have to create the separate text views for header 2. You can create that. Don't worry. We'll come to that.
These are just columns and rows, that's it.
Exactly.
Then what is the item 1 and sub item 1? What is those two things?
Sub items, in one cell you can create multiple widgets.
Okay.
This is one cell. In one cell you can create a text box or text view, button. You can create so many controls in one shot. See, when you understand the same thing in list view, right? We'll go to list view once we are done with grid view. There you will understand, because see, just think about this one cell as your contact. In your mobile phone, when you see your contact, right, will there be only name in that contact? No, right?
Okay, name.
You have your
number,
image, you have your image,
yeah.
exactly. Okay, so which means in one cell you can have multiple widgets. That's why I just call this grid view as a view group. View is nothing but your views, which are widgets. Group is nothing but grouping up your views. Fine?
Yeah, got it.
Okay. Now here let me just create. Now here, how can I get the grid view which I have created here to my class is a question, right? Now whenever you create any control in your XML file, which is layout, right? Now we always qualify that control or widget with respect to ID, right? So whenever you create an ID for any widget, so this ID will be saved in your R. If you remember, we have something called auto-generated files, which is r.java, right? If you go to r.java, right, you can see, so as we are talking about IDs here, all the IDs will be created in your r.java under your ID class. Am I right? Now you can see I have ID. Now you can see here the name which I gave is some GRD view states. Now you can see that is there. Okay. Now this r.java is like, pipeline between your XML file or layout to all the activities we are going to run. Now how to get this in my class is, we have an internal method called find view by ID. Right? So here you have to mention the ID. Now how can I get the ID? Now my ID is in class called R. Put that R, capital R dot. Now you can see we are getting different classes like drawable, diamond, ID, layout, menu. All the classes are here. You can see here you have a drawable class, diamond class, attribute class, ID class, and everything. And they are static. Now you can see when I just say r.id, right, click on that and dot. Now you can see all the controls, whatever you have created, right, IDs of the widgets. You can see one widget ID called grid view states. This is the one which we created over here. Now change this. If you want to change, just say grid view some items, let us say, right? I've changed it. If you go back here, now you can see the ID got changed automatically. If you go back here and if you just do control space, now you can see even you're getting your grid view items, right? So this is how we get the control or widget from our XML file to any activity class in the whole Android application. Now find view by ID will always return your view. That's why you have to convert this view to my current view. I'm using my current view as grid view, right? You have to do something called typecast. Now how I can do typecast is just two places and copy this grid view, or just do it as grid view, which means you're actually typecasting your this. Or if you don't remember this, don't worry, your Eclipse will help you out. Just go highlight on that, it says type mismatch, cannot convert. Just say add cast to grid view, click on that, now it will create for you, right? In this way you can actually create. Now your grid view is with you, right? Which means the control, which is this control, is in a hold of a class, the current instance of that control. Now this is the first step which we have seen. The next step, how can we create, or what do we need to show in my grid view is a question. Let us say we want to show some, let's take an example of alphabets, okay? We want to show some alphabets into this grid view, right? Now for that, let me create an string array. Let me call it as LOBJ data. Oops. Which is LOBJ data is equal to, now, so how can we do string array in this way, right? Let's say I want A, comma, B, comma, we have your C, we have your D, right? We have your E, F, right? And E, H, I, J, K, Q, R, S, T, Q, T, something, right? And let me just copy this, paste it here. Right, okay, so let's think that, okay, we have these many alphabets in our bucket, which is string array. Now what we want to do here is, I want to show this data as a grid content in my activity, right? You can actually have anything, right? You can just say apple anything, right? Just here you have for right? Random values, right? Let me say this is, you have the
Srinath, why you have given final keyword to the string array?
so I want to make it as a constant. I don't want to change this. So final keyword is Java keyword,
Yeah,
which makes
I know final keyword,
okay.
but why you have given I didn't get it.
Why, in the sense, I want to make this constant actually. So when we create an adapter, right, adapter will accept only final data.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no need to give it, right?
No, you don't have to give. You don't have to give the change, right? You can actually generate this randomly and make it assign this to some final key, which will be taken up in your adapter. I'll remove this. Okay, don't worry. So we will create an adapter and we'll see how it works without final. Okay.
Sure.
Now, so this part I want to show. Now, whatever we have, seen here, right? You can actually, this is something which you will be creating your dynamic data, right? It can be from your database or anywhere. It all depends on your logic. Now, the next thing is, so how can I just map this data into grid view, right? So for that, there is one internal class called array adapter. So array adapter is like, your array lists, right? So we have collections, right? So your collection items inherits your generics. So even your array adapter is something which is capable of holding all the data with some generic form. Now your T is nothing but your generic data type. If I give string here, right, which means it will take up the data in a string form and it will actually arrange the data in an array, right? So that is your array adapter of some generic data called T. Now here let me make it as LOBJ adapter, okay, is equal to, now this is important again. Now your array adapter have got so many forms. let us take the maximum possible form, which is your something called this one. Now here context again, if you remember, so context is something which is asking for what is the context of this array adapter you want, or current context. Now you have many contexts in your Android. Now if you want to give only the current context of your activity, you can give the current context name, which is this. Or if you want to give the complete application context, you have your application context, right? And if you want to make it work for your application completely, you can have. You have many context things which you have. Basically, we normally use application context, right? Because even if anything is being changed in your UI of your layout, right, it will not affect this, right? And the next one is resource. Now this resource is nothing but something you can see here. Each and everything is a text, right? So we know that it is text, and maybe adapter will know that okay, everything is string. But when you map the data to your grid view, right? Grid view is something which is a view group, which means it holds only controls, which is widgets, right? So here you have to mention the resource which is going to handle your data, which can be mapped to your grid view. Now here you have your Android app, which is, now when I am saying Android app, it is API, okay? Android dot, you have separate R for your Android. Now this R is nothing but your resource of the Android API itself, right? Dot, so you have got so many things. So as of now we want to select layout dot, you have something called, you can see that there are so many options you can select. Okay, I want to show complete data as a list item, or a checked item, or a, so many things you have. So as of now, let us select something called list item. We'll see, because we have more these type of things which we'll be doing as we go ahead with the course, right? First we'll select this one, which is most useful, which is simple list item, and then you can see it needs a resource. Now in this resource, let's give this data, which is a string array. Now your array adapter is ready now, right? So this is the main key element or main catch over here. Once, if you are okay with creating your array adapter using your data, then it will actually take up that one. Now once it is done, now let's tag it up with your grid view. How can I tag it? You can see I can tag in this way. Dot, you have something called set adapter, and it needs an adapter. Just give your adapter. Now this is how you can actually create random data and tag it to your adapter. Right? Now that's it actually. This is how you can actually do that. Now let us first run this. Oh, okay, so we have to give this grid view in our main, right? If you remember, in our main activity, so when my main opens, it was second activity, right? So let us change it to
grid view.
Otherwise it will actually open the second activity, right? Okay, you can see this was my first, now you can see second, but we want our third activity, which is grid view. Okay, now let's run this. Okay, now can you see the data? It is like very light, because this is because of emulator actually, right? But if you run the same app in your mobile phone, right, it will be it will be more clear. But you can see the data, right? So you can see that everything is being arranged in a row manner. So it is being arranged in only 3 columns because as Sandhya said, right, she wanted to see in 3. That's why we got 3. Now if you give auto fit, right, what happens is it will actually see, you can see here, when you actually confine your columns, you can see how much space it is we are actually wasting up, right? Because each and every pixel in Android is it's costly, right? As it increases, it will actually create a scroll bar for you. Now let us see how it arranges. Now we just gave auto fit. Now anyway, sometimes if it feels that okay, this is optimized way, which is 3 columns, maybe it may print in 3 columns itself. Right, let us see how it goes. Okay, it is starting the activity and it will go to, right, now you can see, right, it arranged in a way that okay, now it feels everything is in 4 columns. Now you can see, we actually saved so much of space, right? So this is how you can actually arrange your data in a grid view. Now the next upgrade of this grid view is, now I want to get the item which I'm selecting. You can't just show some data and just leave as it is, right? So you want user to do some action. Okay, let us say these are some fruits which are just giving up in a view, right? Now you can use this in order to show all the fruits, right? So you are developing some e-commerce app, right? Now if you want, you can use this grid view to show all the fruits you want. So when I select any fruit, right, so it should go to the next activity and just say that okay, this is what you have selected. Now let us see, whenever I select something, let us see how we can actually get the data into I will see how we can actually show the data, right? Now the first
It will be like checkboxes.
yes, it will be checkboxes. Now if you want to go for checkboxes, right, then you don't have to go for grid view, right, because you're going to provide some confined thing, right? Or you can actually make it checkbox too, right?
I mean, if you give some checkboxes and finally you give a button, when you check it some 4 or 5 items and click the button,
You
the
can do
data
that.
should go to the next activity.
Yes, you can try that, right? Yes, you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now here, first let us understand one class called toast, right? So toast is something which is like this is a class which is used in Android to show some data, some message as such, not data, right? It will just show you some message like ongoing messages, right? Whenever you click on something, okay, you have clicked this. When you move on to something, let us say you want to send some message. After sending a message, you show message sent. Those type of messages, right, which are not dialog boxes. Like dialog box is something which you open sounds. Let me say, if I open something, right? Let's say if I open something, you can see this dialog. What is the dialog box? If I try to access anything else in my screen, it won't allow. Until unless you close this window, right, you won't be able to do anything. That is called as your dialog. But this toast is something which is a normal message it will show, and it won't affect us to work on activity, right? So in toast you have internal method called make text. Again you have a context, give the context here, and text here, just say it has grid view loaded. Right? So this is a text you are giving, and duration is something which you can mention how much duration that you want to show the data. We basically take in toast class itself you have 2, which is long and short. Based on the thing, you can just select how much time, what is the time frame you want to show the toast, and just say dot show. This will show toast for you. Let me run this and will show you how it actually open up. Now you can see once everything is loaded, right, grid view, everything is loaded. As soon as this grid view is open, right, it will load and immediately it will say grid view loaded, right? Now let me run this now. So it will open a new window now. Now you can see grid view loaded, and it will go off. So that was your post message box. Right now, that was something which is just a simple message box. Now what we'll do here is how to handle the click of any element is the question. Right? When I click on something like hat or J or K or T, I want to show in my toast, okay, this item was clicked. Let us see how to do that. Now again here, so this is a widget, right, or a control you can say. So what we are planning to do is on click of something. I said on click of something. What does it mean? Which means I am trying to generate some event, right? Right. When I click on this, which means okay, I am trying to generate an event. On this click event, I want to do some action. So that is called as your event delegation model. When I click on something, I want to handle that event. Now how to do that? Now here in my grid view itself, which is grid view, you have some internal methods called set. When you click on set, right, you can see there is an internal method called set on click listener. Right, so this set on click listener will accept your listeners. Now listener is something which is an interface or a class which will contain all the methods which are capable of handling your events. Right, now here again we'll just try out the same thing, which is anonymous inner class. Just give new on click listener. You can see this anonymous inner type. Click on that. Now you can see in this anonymous inner type, right, you have on click event. Now just go here, just click on import Android view. It will go off. Now here what you want to do here is you got on click here, and what you want to do is whatever you click on the item you want to show. This is on click listener is something which will give you on click of your grid. Okay, can you explain the listener again? Okay, so listener is something, right, if you remember in a Java AWT, right, or swings, right, so when you actually create any button or any checkbox or anything, right, so on click of your button or on check of your checkbox or on a select of your radio button, if you want to do some task, right, so you need a handler for that. Handler is nothing but an event handler. Now here event handlers are called as listeners, right? So those listeners you can actually set it on when you click on set, right? So this set will give you all the events you want. When I say on, let us say item, let us say, right? When I click on something called set on, right, item click listener, let us say, which means each and every element whenever you're going to click here, right, it will actually store that event. So for this, what you have to do, you have to give one listener here. Now this listener is nothing but an interface or a direct class where it will contain multiple methods to handle the event. Right? Now that is what we are going to do here is we will be creating an anonymous inner type called new on item click listener. You can see here. And this item click listener will actually have multiple methods. Right, first let me click on import that, and when I click on this you can see an implement method. So this listener, which is an interface, right, so what does interface will have? Interface will have all the abstract methods. So whenever you just import or implement your interface, right, you have to override your abstract methods inside the interface. So on item click is a overrideable method in my on item click listener. That's why we got this. Now this is how you have to set and select your events over here. Fine.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, fine. Now here, so once you are done with this, right, which is on item click, now you want an item to show here. Whatever data is being selected, you want to show here. Now how can you do that? Now let me take a string here. It says lstr item is equal to, right? Now
What
here,
are the arguments there?
yes, I'm explaining it now. Yes, okay. So argument here is, so when you say adapter view, right? So this adapter view will give you different, see, whatever the controls are there in one click. So when I click on this, right, how many views are here? There is only one view, right, which is a
Only
text
one,
view,
one view.
right? So if you have multiple views here, it will actually give it in a augmented way. That is your first argument. Okay. And second one is direct view. This view is nothing but your grid view directly. It will give you the whole of a complete grid. Fine. And the next one is arg2 is nothing but which index you have selected. Right? Which index? Index in the sense when I click on C, what is the index? 0, 1, 2. Right? C is the second index of my complete list of items. So that is your second index we have. Fine. And the long is something if you have any data to pass, right? So this long last argument, you will understand this part when we actually go to activity result, right? I'll explain you this last argument because we'll be getting this argument when we go to activity results, which is used to, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see the view. I mean, you said one view. Apple is one view, right? So inside that cell, you're going to say that how to put the 2-3 views in a one cell.
Apple itself is one view, right? You can actually place multiple views itself. Let us say Apple is one control. You can actually create one more image control in the same cell.
That's what I'm asking. In one cell, how to create multiple views.
I'll show you that. I'll show you that.
Okay.
In one cell, how to create that multiple cells, we'll see that, okay, when we actually move on with multiple things, because we need some more topics, right? So that you can actually understand much, right? Yeah. Now here, what we want is, if you, let us say this argument 2 is something which will give you the index of the items we selected. You have your adapter here, right, which is your string array, let us say, right? Now which is capable of giving you the complete set. Right, so you can actually get the index over here what is being selected. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select the data dot, you have something called, or you can just say data of, and you have to give the index. I'll be giving the index as this. So this will give me which item is being selected, because I'm getting the index of this complete list. Now once this is done, just create a toast dot make text application context and just say selected, just concat your lstr item and the duration, let us take it as toast dot long dot show. Okay, so this will be the duration. I mean, I want to show it for long and selected item. So whatever, whenever you click on any item, it will immediately trigger here, right? And it will go to this interface listener, and it will actually trigger this method, which is on item click. And immediately, what we are doing, we are trying to get what index it is being clicked, and on that index, we are getting the data, and we are showing up the data in my toast, right? So this is how we actually handle the handler. And this will be common for all the controls. Whatever you are going to do, this part will be repeating again and again. Don't worry. I'll show you how differently we can actually handle the events too. Fine. Now let me rebuild this and run this part. Now this will open up your okay. Now I can see grid view loaded. When I click on hat, now I can see selected hat. Click on G, right? Selected G. Click on J, right? Selected J. Click on T, right? Right. Now you can see, because when I click on multiple things, K, O, G and everything, right? See what happens here, see. So it will actually slowly, it will show everything. Why? Because we just gave, the toast as long, right? Which means it will say for considerable time, it will show the data, but it will not skip anything. Wherever you are actually clicking, which means each and every event you are triggering, right? everything will be captured and it will be processed. Right? So Android is so feasible for that. Right? Now when I click on port, it will show. Now this is how you can actually handle the data. Now here, whatever you want. Now if you want to send data from this part, when I click on this activity, right? Let us say when I click on this part, I don't want to show it here, I want to show it in some other activity. That can be one situation. We'll see that part, right? When we move on with widgets maybe, right? We'll see how we can actually transfer data from one activity to other activity, and how to get the data from another activity back to this and all, right? We'll see that part. Right? So this is how we create a grid view, and this is how we handle. Now whatever we have learned here, right, we'll be repeating again and again. So I want you guys to, just try out this grid view once, so that when you don't have any surprises when we actually move on with widgets. Right? So each and every widget, like button, it can be checkbox or spinner or anything, we are going to follow the same pattern. We'll get the control, or we will get the widget, we'll handle the event and we'll show the result, or we'll process something to show the result. Right? So this will be common across. So any questions here? So someone